The paramedic stared at the HOA president, who was clutching a router like it was her newborn baby. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "911 is not for Wi-Fi issues." You could see the confusion turning to outrage on her face, but before she could say another word, two police officers were already studying the bright orange fiber optic cable she'd yanked out of my network interface box, like she was pulling spaghetti out of a colander, except, spaghetti doesn't cost $80 a foot to replace. Sparks didn't fly, fiber doesn't work that way, but my neighbor's Ring doorbell camera caught the exact moment she realized the cable didn't plug into her ancient 2009 Netgear router. That's when she just snapped and screamed, "He's hoarding bandwidth," and tried to dial 911 all over again. The cops actually had to physically stop her from making another emergency call. And the thing is, this wasn't even her first time. One of the officers looked like he'd rather be anywhere else and said, "Ma'am, this is the third time today you've called 911, and none of them have been emergencies. Welcome to Juniper Hollow, right? I'm Marcus Hale, and I moved here because the brochure promised quiet living and shared values. The usual, well-trimmed hedges, tasteful holiday lights, friendly block parties. What I didn't expect was forced communal broadband, managed by someone who thought the internet was a public utility, like water or the air we breathe. Now, I work as a software architect, which apparently, in HOA mythology, means I'm some kind of tech wizard hoarding digital magic for myself. But the real character in this mess was our HOA president, Colleen Pratt. You know the type: tennis visor, permanent smirk, and a stack of business cards that actually said brand curator. I still don't know what that means. All I know is, the minute that fiber installation truck rolled up and started spooling a brand new line into my side yard, Colleen sniffed out an opportunity like a raccoon in a suburban trash can. She literally watched from her porch with binoculars, jotting down notes on a clipboard like she was staking out a bank heist. It started harmless enough. Colorful postcards started showing up in my mailbox. Stuff like, "Juniper Hollow embraces community internet. Please contribute your fiber connection for neighborhood uplift." Complete with stock photos of smiling families, obviously staged. Then came the ambushes. She'd materialize in my driveway while I was unloading groceries, clipboard in hand, and a smile that was just a little too wide. "Marcus," she'd say, drawing out my name like she was reading my Miranda rights. "It's just unsustainable for everyone to have separate internet providers. Think about the aesthetic impact of all those wires." I mean, she actually used the word aesthetic to talk about utility cables, half of which are buried underground, by the way. I told her, as politely as I could, my internet service was private and not up for sharing. She acted like I'd just insulted her entire lineage. Then one morning, I found a document slipped under my door. Temporary easement consent. I'm not kidding. It was neither temporary nor consensual. The fine print gave the HOA unlimited access to any data conduits on my property, the right to install equipment, modify connections, and, for good measure, charge me a monthly maintenance fee. When I didn't sign, things went nuclear. Colleen declared my optical network terminal, the little box the fiber company put on my wall, non-conforming tech clutter. She started taping these bright yellow HOA violation notices right on it, each with some new, made-up code. One afternoon, I caught her measuring my utility wall with a crafting ruler, holding up paint samples, a can of HOA taupe spray paint already loaded in her golf cart, ready to paint over my equipment. Suddenly, rumors started flying. Apparently, I was hoarding bandwidth, running a secret crypto mining operation, maybe even pirating Netflix for the whole block. None of it was true, but Colleen didn't care about facts. She began parking her golf cart across my lawn, blocking my driveway, and posted a Facebook poll. Should the community gain equitable access to Marcus's fiber? Yes or no? Please answer respectfully. She commented on her own poll 17 times, each comment more unhinged than the last. She even claimed I was slowing down everyone's internet and interfering with cell signals. Yeah, because that's how physics works. The turning point? Colleen was humiliated by a 63% no vote. Comments like, "Are you kidding me? Even for you, Colleen, this is nuts." Another neighbor wrote, "I can't believe I have to say this, but people are allowed to have their own internet." Backed into a corner, Colleen went full rogue. One Tuesday, she used her so-called master keys, A jangling ring she claimed gave her access to all HOA properties and marched into my yard like she owned the place. She tried to split my fiber line using a dusty old Coke splitter. There was even a label on it, for cable TV only. Two things happened. First, nothing, because you can't split fiber optic like it's 1995 cable. Second, my ISP flagged a sudden anomaly and pinged my phone. Minutes later, their tech, Raj, called me. When he heard the story, he immediately phoned the police. Utility tampering is a felony, by the way. But Colleen, undeterred, called 911 first. Her emergency? We have a hostile resident refusing to share internet access with the Homeowners Association. And I later found out she told them I was running some kind of illegal operation. So now, the cavalry arrives. Police cruisers, ISP truck, all in front of my house. Raj, the tech, steps out and asks, "Who's been touching the fiber?" Colleen launches into a speech about community rights, shared resources, blah blah blah. But Raj just holds up his hand and points to my security camera footage. There she was, in oversized aviators, prying open the enclosure with a butter knife, narrating like she was on HGTV. "Today we're democratizing bandwidth for the whole community," she says, as if she's a freedom fighter. The officers' faces changed from suspicion to secondhand embarrassment. One even looked away. Raj patiently explained, loud enough for the crowd that had gathered, that the equipment belonged to the ISP and tampering was a violation of state and federal laws. He pointed out the big warning stickers. Unauthorized access is a crime. Colleen tried to interrupt. "I'm the HOA president." But Raj just shook his head. "That's not how any of this works, ma'am." I handed the cops a copy of the easement consent Colleen tried to make me sign. The younger officer actually snorted when he read the part about unlimited access to my property's data conduits. "This isn't legal," he said flat out. "Right there in my driveway, I filed an official trespass complaint." Raj wrote up a damage report for the ISP. And then, like she was summoned by the spirit of petty bureaucracy, the city's code enforcement officer arrived, carrying a binder titled Unauthorized Access to Utility Infrastructure. Apparently, this wasn't Colleen's first rodeo. Now things were really spinning out of control for her. She kept trying to explain, but everyone had stopped listening. You could feel karma humming in the air, like a software update you can't ignore. At the emergency HOA meeting that night, the place was packed. Folks were standing in the back, whispering. Colleen came in with her laptop and a presentation called Bandwidth as Commons, complete with clip art of people holding hands around a router. She started preaching about community values and shared resources, but her show ended at slide 2, when the treasurer stood up and announced Colleen had already written a $12,000 check from HOA funds for a community router collective, all without board approval. The room just exploded. Angry whispers, people demanding to know where their money went. Then the code enforcement officer took over the projector and played the security footage. He froze the frame right when Colleen jammed the butter knife into my network box. You could hear gasps. Someone whispered, "That's my butter knife." Another person said, "Is she actually trying to plug fiber into a cable splitter?" The laughter was awkward, sharp, but honest. The board voted, right there, to remove Colleen as president. Unanimous. She sat in stunned silence. Tennis visor askew, face turning beet red. Then the officers, yes, the same ones from earlier, stepped up and served her with a citation for criminal trespass and interfering with utility equipment. Raj presented an invoice to the HOA for repairs and security upgrades for $1,500 because, as he explained, the damage was done in her official capacity. It wasn't over. The final vote that night was unanimous. Anti-tamper security cages for every utility box in the neighborhood, all painted HOA taupe. Colleen's own favorite color, by the way. The code enforcement fine was $8,000, payable immediately. Colleen's face went dead white when she heard the number. She mumbled something about appealing, but the board's attorney stood up and explained, because of her unauthorized use of funds and the damage, she'd be personally liable for both the $8,000 fine and the $12,000 check. That's $20,000. Colleen tried to stand, but her legs gave out, and she just sat there, shell-shocked, staring at nothing. That was the end of the community bandwidth revolution. The neighborhood never felt so quiet. And I gotta say, I still check my network box every week, just in case someone gets any bright ideas. So here's my question for you. Where do you draw the line between community and control? Was justice served, or was it all just a ridiculous soap opera that could have been avoided if people just minded their own business? Drop your thoughts down below. Share your HOA horror stories, your own tales of overreach, or just sound off if you think the whole thing was totally justified. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around for the next story. You never know what's waiting in your own backyard.